Hi there, dear Truth Warriors, and welcome back to the channel. For those of you who are new to the channel, I'm Petra Van Dale. I'm a life coach and breathwork practitioner. So I spent many years, I want to say wasted, but they're not wasted years in hindsight, because I've learned so much from having the dis-ease to please. And I spent many of my years, as I just said, people pleasing. Not wanting to get into conflict, wanting to keep the peace, not wanting to rock the boat, not being confident enough to set boundaries where boundaries were needed with toxic people in my life. So I'm recovered. I spent years working on myself because every couple of years you change and you find that there may be something new that you just need to tweak or that you need to heal. And I can say I've come full circle now where I no longer have the burden of people pleasing. So I wanted to share with you today 5 signs of people pleasing, which you can probably relate to. And, once you recognize the traits, once you recognize the behavior within yourself, then you can go about healing those traits and also realizing where they were established, because you are not born people pleasing. It's taught, learnt behavior. So the 5 signs, the first one, as I just mentioned, is that it is very challenging to say no. Because what people pleasers often do is they want to say no, they feel that this is going against their boundaries are being violated, but to keep the peace, you find it challenging. I have found it challenging to say no. That is the biggest one in my book, according to my book. The second one is fear of conflict, because what if you state your opinion? What if you voice your needs? What if you make them known to others? Especially with a toxic person, a narcissistic person, this is a very unsafe way, as you've probably experienced, because the moment you speak up for yourself, take a stand for yourself, then you will experience conflict. Because a narcissist does not want you to have a voice or an opinion. They want you to remain small. They want you to dim their light. So in order to keep the peace, we don't want to get into those conflicts with them. The third one is a constant need for approval. Am I good enough? Am I pretty enough? Am I slim enough? Am I accomplished enough? Whatever it may be, part of the disease to please is needing other people's approval. And so when you externalize that approval, when you're asking others for their approval, it takes away from yourself. You are chipping away at your own self-esteem, because the only person you need approval from is yourself. As long as you're not hurting yourself or hurting others, you're good enough. You are good enough. And even having said that, you are worthy and good enough anyhow. But sometimes certain behaviors can get in the way of your own personal growth and also cause you to enable unhealthy dynamics within a narcissistic relationship. The fourth one is a fear of being abandoned. This again ties into the conflict, where when you speak up, when you take a stand for yourself, when you voice your needs or your opinions, there is a great fear of being abandoned, even though the person you're with is a toxic person. You rather, and this is the sort of subconscious thoughts that we have, is that we rather be in an unsafe and toxic relationship because it's familiar to us, than to break away from that and have the feeling of being abandoned by the narcissist. And it's simply a subconscious feeling. It is not the truth. When you break away from a toxic person, this is not being abandoned. If anything, if you stay in a toxic relationship for whatever reason, that is you abandoning yourself. And this is a very specific topic which I will get into at a later date, because it's a very broad subject. I'm just touching the surface here. But staying in a toxic relationship is rarely abandoning yourself, your own needs, your wants, your desires, the things you want to do, you don't do, because the narcissist always keeps you small and in a corner. And the fifth sign of people pleasing, the fifth trait maybe, is having the tendency to prioritize others' needs and desires above your own needs and desires. So this is just the top 5. These are the 5 things that I struggled with, as I just mentioned, for the longest time. And, you know, people pleasing can contribute to toxic relationships because you are enabling an unhealthy dynamic. By succumbing to the narcissist's wants and needs and desires, by undermining yourself, you are enabling this toxic dynamic. And usually it's done very unconsciously. It's not a conscious act. However, it does become conscious when you realize these are the behaviors that I have been portraying. This is what I do in a toxic relationship. Once you recognize that, once you acknowledge that, that's when you can go about healing the dis-ease to please. Because a narcissist exploits a people pleaser's desire to always please. They exploit it by manipulating you, by having control over you, and taking advantage of what they see as a weakness. Now, again, this is a topic for another video, because being vulnerable is seen by the narcissist as a weakness. And so when they see that you are trying your utmost, you're trying your hardest to maintain this relationship because of the fear of abandonment, this is how they take advantage of you. So they will play into that wound for the longest time. As long as they can get away with it, they will play into it. And therefore, they keep you in the relationship, keep you stuck in the relationship. Now, as you very well know, people-pleasing can have an impact on your emotional and your mental health. This can cause extreme feelings of anxiety. It can cause you to have feelings of low self-worth, self-value, self-esteem. And at the end of the day, if you allow this to continue for the longest time, then you can experience a burnout. This is what I went through, and I didn't realize it was a burnout. I just thought, why do I have the feeling of being stuck? Why do I feel that I cannot get out of bed? Why do I feel that I cannot cope if I disengage from the narcissistic friend in my life? Or very many years ago, the narcissistic relationship that I was in. I was afraid to let go because I thought, how will I cope? Who am I without this toxic person in my life? And this is another dynamic that the narcissist will play into. So when you recognize yourself in this people-pleasing behavior that I just mentioned, the 5 signs, then it is up to you to acknowledge this within yourself. And sometimes, you know, the truth is very difficult to acknowledge. This is the truth of the matter. But if you do not acknowledge that truth, then you cannot move forward. So yes, the truth can be painful sometimes, but it is necessary because the truth is going to pull you forward on your journey. When you face that truth, when you state, these are my behaviors, this is what I do, I realize and I acknowledge without judgment that I am enabling the toxic person to further abuse me. That's when you can take the second step into, what is it that I need? Where do I need to set healthy boundaries? Where do I need to speak up for myself and state my needs? Because you as a person, as an individual, you have your own needs. your own emotional needs, physical needs, whatever need it may be. Could be security, could be safety. When you can state these needs and choose yourself above the toxic person in your life, that is when you get to move forward. And yes, it's a process. It's not something that you just choose to do and you make the shift right away. No, you can make the choice and then start on the process, on the journey of setting the boundaries, of prioritizing yourself, of breaking away, if at all possible, from the toxic person in your life. It's not always possible. You know, there are very many different life situations where you can just say, okay, that's it. I've had enough. I'm going to leave this relationship or the family dynamic or the friendship. But in some cases, that's not possible right in the moment. Sometimes it takes a whole process beforehand in order for you to reach the point where you can feel safe enough within yourself to leave the toxic dynamic. So again, if you recognize yourself, the signs that I just mentioned of the dis-ease to please, start by acknowledging and offer yourself self-compassion, offer yourself understanding. Find out what your needs are. Who are you as a person? Who are you? What do you want? These are two very small questions seemingly, but they have very great, insightful answers which are going to pull you forward on your journey. For now, take care and so much love to you all.